Hey guys, thanks for joining us again. So today we're going to do a little quick start guide on a radio that has many names. It's known as the Jianpai 8800T or 8800 Plus. It's also known as the Radtel RT-490. It's also known as the Boristone 8800 and also as the Socotran 8800. But the bottom line is, whatever it's branded as, if you see this radio, they all come from the same factory and it just doesn't matter which brand you get. You're getting the same radio in the end. So let's actually get into the quick start guide. So of course, first things first, unbox your radio, take it out of its packaging and everything. And now that we're here, let me also just bring you up to speed on some of the things that you do need to be aware of when you are using your radio. So, okay. Let me just put this all aside because we don't need any of these in the time. So number one is the antenna. You don't want to use the default antenna because if you put a default antenna on this radio, you're not really going to be taking full advantage of the insane sensitivity that this thing has for its price. Likewise, it also outputs 5 watts into this SMA connector here, and if you put a shitty antenna on it, you're not gonna get really good effective radiated power. So first things first, what I recommend is get a BRI antenna, foldable tactical antenna. This will really just boost your transmit and receive performance of your radio for basically very little extra cost. So it's definitely a worthwhile investment. And another thing is, I actually had the Chinese version of this radio. This is the English language version that I got specifically for this quick start guide. And on my Chinese version, I will basically I took the screen protector off and I basically just throw it in my bag and go around doing stuff. But in the process, I found out that this screen is actually made of I think it's a waterproof acrylic, similar to what you will find on a Vostok watch, and it scratches really easily. So do yourself a favor. Get a radio pouch and put your radio in a radio pouch when you're carrying it around or when you want to throw it in your bag with a bunch of other things, because this acrylic screen will scratch. It's waterproof, sure, but it's done in a way that's cheap, and thank you for that, because I appreciate a cheap and capable radio, but it just scratches so easily. So there we go. All right, so battery installation, easy. It hooks on the bottom and latches in on the top. You can just pull the latch out of the way, then release. Nice. Antenna installation on the SMA port is dead easy. And let me show you how you install the antenna. See the antenna? This is itself, just pretty relevant. Yeah. I recommend leaving the antenna on. Not necessarily, but it's something else. Okay, there we go. I'm just gonna feel the distance here, and my distance. Okay, here's the antenna. Out of the packaging. Installation of the SMA antenna is just so simple. Basically, line the SMA connector up with the port on the radio and screw it in. Easy. Hang on. It's a little tricky because I haven't unfolded the antenna, but yeah. And that's it. Antenna installed, and it fits snugly and flushly. Nice. Alright, so that's pretty much the initial setup of the radio. Let's actually power it on now. Alright, so let's actually move on to the controls of the radio. So to turn your radio on, you have a combined power switch and volume knob on the top right corner here.
Welcome. Frequency mode.
And to increase your volume, basically just turn it clockwise. To decrease your volume, basically just turn it counterclockwise. So now that our radio is on, let's actually move on to the first thing you want to do when you power on your radio. You want to reset it, because whenever when I got this radio, it had quite a lot of funny things in the preset into the settings, such as it was transmitting on a muted tone and with a what was it, DMRS code? I forgot what it's called, but yeah. When you first get a radio to get rid of all the funny settings that may have been preset at a factory, basically just click OK to enter the menu. Yep, the OK button enters you into the menu, and to cycle between the menu options, you can either use your up and down arrow keys, or you can use this knob on top. And in our case, we want to go to reset, which is over here, option 53. Sorry. And to basically enter that menu setting, you go to that menu setting and then you press OK again. And when you're inside the menu option, you can cycle between the different options using either your up and down arrow key or your little center knob. And right now I want to reset everything, so I'm just gonna go to all and then click OK, the OK button to confirm your setting, and it's resetting. Just let it reset, and there we go. Just wiped everything. All right. Now that we've covered menu navigation, let's actually move on to the keypad itself, P1 and P2. P1 changes your main channel between channels A and channels B. Why is this important? Well, your radio can listen into two frequencies at once, namely the frequency that's displayed on channel A and the frequency that's displayed on channel B. So whenever a signal comes online on either 400.125, which is on channel A, or 436.125, which is on channel B, your radio will basically start playing out that signal. If it detects a signal on either channel, it will start playing it. However, as it's currently set up, this radio can only transmit on one channel at once, and that will be your main channel. If your main channel is set to channel A, by pressing P1, you can cycle between your main channels between channels A and B. If your main channel is channel A and you press the push to talk button, you will only be talking to people listening on 400.125. If you want to talk to people on the frequency on channel B, you will have to change your main channel to channel B. Pretty simple. All right. Also, if you want to change your frequency, you will only be able to change the frequency on your main channel. So if you want to change the frequency on your channel A, channel A, then you have to move the main channel. You have to set your main channel to channel A, and then you can use your keypad or the knob to change your frequency, which we'll get into later. Now let's move on to P2. The P2 button changes your main channel between frequency mode and channel mode. And this is pretty important. On channel mode, you cannot manually enter a frequency. You can only use the frequencies that have been pre-saved into this radio. And as of right now, we don't have anything pre-saved. And for the purpose of this quick start guide, we're only going to be in channel mode. So to switch between channel and frequency modes, you press P2.
Frequency mode.
Notice how just now it was on channel mode, which will display the channel number here. We don't want that because when we're on channel mode, we cannot enter a frequency manually. We don't change from channel mode to frequency mode by pressing P2.
Frequency mode.
And you can verify your radio is in frequency mode, or your main channel is in frequency mode, by the fact that the radio will announce that it's in frequency mode, and by the fact that VFO is displayed here.
Frequency mode.
When frequency mode is on your main channel, it will display VFO. And similarly, if you want to change it for your channel B, you have to change your main channel to channel B, and then you can
Frequency mode.
Yep. And then you can use P2 to change channel B between frequency and channel mode. So yep, that's P1 and P2 covered. P1 changes your main channel between channels A and channel B, and P2 changes your main channels between frequency mode and channel mode. And for the purposes of this quick start guide, we're only gonna be on frequency mode. All right, so let's talk about how you can input your frequencies. So pretty simple. You can either use your keypad down here, or you can use the top center knob over here. So let's say I want to enter a FRS frequency, which is the frequencies that are legal to transmit on without a license.
09750.
Yep, you can either use your keypad or you can use the top knob. And let me just click on P1 to change to channel B. And let me just set it to another legal FRS frequency. So I can basically just use the top knob to, turn the frequency all the way down. But yeah, it's kind of slow to do it this way. So these are, more suitable for, fine tuning and things like that. So let me just actually set it to another, legal frequency.
99750.
All right, that's that. So, okay, we've covered the keypad, we've covered the knob, we've covered a little bit of the buttons P1 and P2, and we've covered menu navigation. One thing is this return home button. When you're in your menu and you want to back out of the menu, simply press this to back out of the menu. Or This button also works if, let's say, you're entering a frequency and you made a mistake. Boop, it deletes. Or if you want to cancel frequency input altogether, yeah, just backspace all the way. All right, so that's the front and top of the radio covered. Now let's actually move on to the side. So moving from top to bottom, this is your push to talk button, and this is called the PF2 button, and this is called the PF3 button. Push to talk, pretty simple. You will, let's just put it on our main channel. Yep. When you press the push to talk, your radio will start, sending your voice out on the frequency that is on your main channel. So if your main channel is set to channel A and you press the push to talk, it will start transmitting your voice on the frequency displayed in channel A, like this. Hello, hello, yeah, hello. Yep, and that's basically my ridiculous voice just transmitted out just now on 409.75. Pretty simple. Press down the button, you talk. People on that frequency will hear you talk. Release the button to stop talking. Yep, pretty simple. Now, let's move on to buttons PF2 and PF3. And these two buttons can both be short pressed, just click once, or it can be press and held. All right. So let's actually start with buttons PF2. So by default, short pressing PF2 will enter you into the FM broadcast radio mode. Let me just lower the volume. So in the FM broadcast radio mode, you basically can just listen to regular FM radio broadcast. And you can change the frequency of the FM broadcast radio mode by basically just using the knob on top or using the keypad like you will on your regular radio modes. All right, and to back out of the FM broadcast radio mode, you short press PF2 again. All right, so that was short pressing PF2. Let's now talk about what long pressing PF2 does. So when you long press PF2, it will enter your radio into scanning mode. And when your radio is on scanning mode, it will basically, as you saw just now, it will scan up through the frequencies looking for an active signal. And if it detects an active signal, it will stop on that frequency and start playing the signal out. So this is pretty useful if you want to do something like, basically just explore the spectrum, that's the radio frequency spectrum around your place to see what's playing and what's what. Or it's also useful if you're looking for a specific signal that you know is within a frequency range, but you don't know the precise frequency of it. So that's pretty useful to do. And to stop the scanning mode, you basically just long press PF2 again. And now you're basically, set on that frequency. Alright, so that's long pressing PF2, which is scanning. Now let's talk about short pressing the PF3 over here. Short pressing PF3 changes by default, without changing anything in the menu, changes the transmit power of your main channel. And this is low power, and this is high power. In my mind, this is not something you want to do on this button, because this button can be used for much more useful things. But yeah, that's how they set it by default. And yeah, you can always just go into the menu to change the radio transmit power on your main channel. So yeah, I seriously don't see the point in using this button for your transmit power. But we'll get into how you can change that later. Now let's talk about long pressing PF3. So long pressing PF3 will open the squelch filter, as you can see here. So let's talk about what the squelch filter is. So the squelch filter is basically like a noise filter, because how there's radio frequency noise all around us, and you don't really want to listen to that. So the squelch filter of the radio filters out the static noise, so that only strong signals can come through and trigger your radio into playing sound. However, the issue with squelch filters is, if you're trying to look for a really weak signal, weak signals may not get through the squelch filter. If the signal is weak and it's just barely above, the background noise levels, your radio may think that it's noise and just, ignore it completely and not play it out. If you are looking for a signal and you have tuned your radio to that particular frequency. Let's just say a random one, for example. Let's say you have entered this frequency onto your radio and you know for a fact that there is a signal on this frequency, but you're not hearing anything. It could be that the signal is too weak to break through the squelch filter of a radio. So in that case, you can still attempt to try to listen to whether or not there's a signal here, or listen to that signal, that weak signal, by basically long pressing PF3 and opening the squelch filter. So yeah, that's basically the side buttons covered.
And alright, if you want to stop your radio from turning its screen off every few seconds, well, there's a way to do that in the menu as well. So again, press OK to enter the menu, and then you will want to go to the ABR setting, which I think stands for automatic brightness, and I think it's over in setting number 20 something. There we go. Setting number 24. It's ABR, for automatic brightness, and you basically just turn it to on for, turn it to on for, constant on, so it will never turn the screen off. Or you can set it to something more reasonable, like, there we go. Like, turn the screen off after, I don't know, a few minutes, instead of just, turning off after a few seconds. There we go. So yeah, now I've set it to 3 minutes. The screen will only turn off after 3 minutes of complete inactivity. So there's that.